I'm not even going, well, I'm not sure I shouldn't. I don't know if this will go up. Uh, I'm not going to lay out the papers and showing who I am and all that and my kidnapping and talk about the mind control that I wrote about and about Larry Flint. I had an article in Hustler magazine where he endorsed me, and a good editorial saying I know who was responsible for his shooting in Atlanta. Well, actually in Lawrenceville, back in '08, March of '08. What I wanted to say is I don't know that I made it clear on that last tape. CNN and all of the stations are focusing now on Ferguson, Missouri, and the shooting there. And they've got Eric Holder, the U.S. Attorney General. They've got Obama's attention. They've got so much there, Jesse Jackson and all this. Um, the thing is, and they're calling the beheading of Foley, the journalist Foley, they're calling them terrorists. They're calling all kinds of names. Yet the point I'm trying to make is that when the United States kidnapped me, took down my father, King Edward VIII, 99-year seal put on it, kidnapped me when I was 2 years old, the monarch, Victoria II, illegal treaties signed because George VI, Elizabeth's father's illegal. He signed them allowing the United States to put military bases all over Great Britain, and they control everything. Great Britain, stop and think, why? Where did all the colonies go? My point in it is the Americans just don't tell it. I'm over here, and what they've done to me, I'm 75 years old. I can hardly get around on a daily basis, and my sons. And what about my mom and dad? My mom was Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor, married to my mom, not the double that married Wallace Simpson that married the double. The whole thing was a lie. Why would you put a 99-year seal on something? But for the Americans to focus on and call someone else that kidnaps and they're not going to pay ransom, well, I think that's, it's, I sit back and it's appalling because what does everybody think that happened to me? They kidnapped me for a reason, the monarch, not just to replace me and my father with Elizabeth and Company, their own, they put their own monarch if it works for them. But also hostage taking, and it varies in like treaties, illegal treaties, and money, and all this, and takeover of the colonies, and the scientists, and so much that poured into Huntsville, which is near Moulton, Alabama, where they took me in 41, excuse me. Oh, so over the years, thank God my country came after me or tried to. Well, I don't know how they did. I really don't. They have suffered so much, and Germany has too. Thank God. A lot of my relatives are German. Thank God they came after me too. I mean, they can't take me home. I wish they could, and I hope they can, and I hope this is before a world court, and it sticks it down your throat, America. You're a bunch of common thug killers. You're terrorists, and God help me. You know, all of you that I've met just about are supposed to be Christians, whatever, you got a religion. I mean, there's nobody that didn't believe it. I've got too much on me. I always have to prove it. So it's not that they disbelieve me. They just didn't give up. Okay? I'm bleeping myself because I do want to put this down on anybody. I mean, how can you take out a monarch like my father? This whole thing. And 99-year seal is an alert button right there. And some journalists not try to tell it. So, Foley, the journalist that was beheaded, and they're saying, well, the man had a British accent that was with him, so what's Great Britain doing to find this British man that might have had something to do with the beheading? I wonder, how sick can people get? First of all, I have gone. Since before I found out about my own kidnapping and name, this country knew it. The media, everybody knew it before I did. I found out in '83. Okay, I just can't see where they're coming from. The media needs held responsible for perpetrating lies. Um, the people buy what they say. They don't think beyond it. If the press doesn't print it, people don't believe it. So the United States were saying that the media, CNN specifically, was saying, well, the United States didn't um, pay terrorists. Well, they didn't mind kidnapping me, and they didn't call themselves terrorists, and they didn't mind taking all the money and all the other perks that came with kidnapping me. I just can't. It's beyond belief that it's been allowed to continue and to watch television. And I've been watching CNN, but it's on all their faces. They really, when they were talking about Foley being beheaded, I just couldn't believe the look on. It wasn't Erin Burnett. It was the other one. The look on her face when, how dare the men have a British accent when they're holding me, the monarch, and God help the day if it ever is done that this world has to look at what they did to me and my sons, and my mom and dad, and the British. I can't. It's so appalling. First of all, if I've got time on this tape, I'm going to try to continue this. And it's been on a daily basis. They've broken the law day after day after day, and I just didn't die. They put antifreeze in me after I did the book, April Fool Day of '80, because it's a joke that they can do this to me. I haven't seen my kids. I think the world should see what they did to my sons. It is so horrific what they did. Nobody's been charged, nothing. I want to go back to Hyman Miller, a Jew. And if you follow what happened after my kidnapping and the takedown of my father, by the Kennedys, Joe Kennedy, by the Rothschilds, the Jews, Rockefellers, Roosevelt, the Americans, you follow the illegal treaties that gave power to the United States, and they formed, because of the positioning of military bases, they took other countries as hostage, and now then they have the UN, and that's really part of the New World Order. My point is that the Jews took over Israel right after that, I think 47. But Hyman Miller was a psychiatrist, and Dr. Berg was an anesthesiologist. This was made to happen. I should never have been depressed or anything, and it was diagnosis murder. It was incorrect. I never was. And he diagnosed that because I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and for no other reason than to continue torturing me and it following me all my life unless I'm able to go home. They gave me drugs that were really should have killed me. They put me on the table, and on a weekly, sometimes 2 times a week, they basted my brain with shock to where I didn't even know what was going on. What does that do to my children, the relationship? What do they think of their mother? And I could go on with what happened, and Berg, the conversation the 2 Jews had when they were knocking me out and shocking me. And it's continued on and on. There's no way to tell it all. But what is beheading? Because putting antifreeze in you, first of all, I should have died. That's the most hideous hell you can go through. And the other thing was, if I can get this in and I can't, was they were going to lobotomize me if the Brits didn't come through with their requests. And this was during the Nixon, and it was Kissinger that was on the other line. Victor Gonzalez is still a doctor there. He should have been locked up. He was they had me knocked out. I knew what was going on, but I couldn't move. Well, the phone call came through, and the Brits came through with the hostage money. And you Americans have the gall to call yourselves the good guy and other people